Hello students, today we will be doing module 3 of temporomandibular joint disorder. Specifically, I will start today discussion with myofascial pain dysfunction syndrome. This particular disease is also referred to as temporomandibular joint syndrome. The condition is very common and dentists are often consulted for facial pain other than toothache. MPDS is a disorder with group of symptoms, hence syndrome word is used with this particular disorder. A patient of myofascial pain dysfunction syndrome need not display all the symptoms of this syndrome. Similarly, individual symptoms need not be present to full extent. Now, myofascial myofascial pain dysfunction syndrome has varied etiology. These include, as I have already discussed in module 1, these include psychological stresses, parafunctional habits like teeth clenching, bruxism, nail biting, etc. Change in vertical dimensions of the jaw, either increase or decrease in vertical height. It might be an example of missing posterior teeth, high points in dental restoration. Etiologies can also include occlusal instabilities due to malocclusion, acute or chronic trauma to jaw, or poor physiological postures. So all these can be contributing factor for development of this chronic disorder. Now following are the clinical features. The disorder is commonly seen in younger women aged 20 to 40 years. The male to female ratio is 1:4. The syndrome is associated with four cardinal signs and symptoms. These are pain, muscle tenderness, clicking and popping sound, limitation of jaw motions, which can be either unilateral or bilateral. Please note these points. These are the four cardinal signs which are very specific to myofascial pain dysfunction syndrome (MPDS). This include pain, muscle tenderness, clicking or popping sound, limitation of jaw motions which can be unilateral or bilateral. Now, in this disorder, the pain is usually pre-auricular associated with chewing. The pain may radiate to head but not like headache. May be unilateral or bilateral. Quite often, myofascial pain dysfunction syndrome is unilateral, but it is not always so. This particular syndrome can also be bilateral in certain patients. Pain many a times is associated with habit of bruxism, jaw clenching, or it might be associated with anxiety. Anxiety is nothing but increase in periods of extreme stress. The third symptom which we have seen, clicking or popping sound, this is usually associated with temporomandibular joint disorder. It is a common symptom which is seen among all the disorders. In myofunctional pain dysfunction syndrome, this is one of the criteria for diagnosing this particular syndrome. Clicking or popping sound is present while opening and closing of the jaw. In certain individuals, the clicking can be present while opening. In some individuals, the clicking can be present while closing. In some individuals, the clicking can be present both while opening and closing of the jaw. The clicking and popping sound, please note down, the clicking and popping sound can also be unilateral or it can be bilateral in patient. There will be limited jaw opening. The jaw opening may be seen associated due to pain, or it can be also associated with disc displacement. Some other minor symptoms that are seen in certain patients associated with myofunctional pain dysfunction syndrome are otalgia, neck pain, psychiatric problem, shoulder pain, and dizziness. Differential diagnosis includes cluster headache, post-herpetic neuralgia, temporal or giant cell arteritis, trigeminal neuralgia, and middle ear infections. Middle ear infections are associated with fever. Since they are infection, they will have certain amount of changes in blood counts. Trigeminal neuralgia, we have seen in orofacial pain chapter. It is a neuralgic type of pain where we get severe lancinating type of pain, and these are triggered when there is some stimulus to trigger zone. Post-herpetic neuralgia, there will be history given by the patient that vesicular eruptions associated with fever were present, and 2 to 3 months later, after the healing of the vesicles happened, they started with neuralgic type of pain. Cluster headache, which is very rare, but it is also called as alarm clock headache. Here once again there is unilateral type of pain, and this pain is quite often very severe stabbing type of pain, and it is seen associated or it is felt by the patient in and around the orbit. Cluster headache has specific timing in a day, whereas your myofunction pain dysfunction syndrome, it is present throughout the day, though it is more common in the morning hours as compared to evening hours. But this particular syndrome, the patient complains that he is having pain over the face throughout the day, whereas cluster headache, there are specific time or specific period of the day where the patient gets acute attack of facial pain. Now, to support your diagnosis, we need to do certain investigations such as blood and radiological examination. MPDS does not have any finding as such in both the examination. We only do blood examinations to rule out other systemic conditions that can have temporomandibular joint involvement. These include complete blood count to rule out any systemic infections, such as in case of a person suffering from gonorrhea. Rheumatoid factor and anti-nuclear antibodies (ANAs). These tests are specifically done to rule out if the patient is suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. Erythrocyte sedimentation rate, which is also a common blood examination, is used to find out any chronic condition if the patient is suffering. In a similar way, if you are suspecting a patient with temporomandibular joint due to involvement of increased uric acid level as suspected in gout, we need to do these examination. Myofascial pain dysfunction syndrome does not have any radiographic features. If any radiographic investigation done for examination of temporomandibular joint essentially shows normal features. Coming to treatment of myofascial pain dysfunction syndrome, the treatment which I am going to discuss right now is universal to temporomandibular joint disorders. That means all the diseases which are included under temporomandibular joint disorders, they need to go through this treatment modality. And majority of the cases of temporomandibular joint disorder are treated by um, medical means rather than giving a surgical line of treatment. Now, first and foremost in the treatment of myofascial pain dysfunction syndrome is education and information which we need to provide to the patient. Now, such type of pain which is of chronic onset, it becomes a source of great anxiety. The patient starts thinking that the problem is progressive and it is a degenerative one, and in future I am going to suffer with more amount of pain and probably I am going to have a good loss of function. So we need to educate the patient that this particular problem is limited one. It takes definitely long time for the treatment, but uh, it is not going to become so severe as the way the patient is interpreting. Some of the patient, they think that this is I'm suffering from brain tumor or I'm having some other life-threatening diseases. That is why many of the doctors are not able to treat me. That is why over a period of time my suffering has increased. So for all such patients, education is the basis of this particular modality of your line of treatment. We should allow the patient to express his or her concern, and we can help them by answering their questions. So these patients, they will have a lot of questions with themselves. You need to very patiently sit, listen to their questions, and you need to answer them. Whenever a patient of such condition comes to you to sort treatment, you need to be very patient with these type of patients. Coming to next modality of treatment for patients of temporomandibular joint syndrome is self-care and habit reversal. There are certain habit or patterns of jaw use which the patient must be undergoing. We need to make aware of these habits and patterns of jaw use. We need to tell them to avoid tooth contact except during chewing and swallowing. We need to tell them to notice if they are having any habits such as clenching, teeth grinding, gritting, or tapping of teeth, or any tensing or rigid holding of jaw muscles. These are specially noticed when the patient is doing some work and they are subconsciously happening during the time of such work which they are doing. We need to check for tooth clenching while driving, studying, doing computer work, reading, or other activities. Position of the jaw to avoid tooth contact. This is a simple technique which we need to tell the patient. That is to place the tip of the tongue behind the top teeth and keep the teeth slightly apart. And to maintain this position when the jaw is not being used for functions such as speaking and chewing. We need to tell the patient to modify the diet. Place the patient on couple of days, say for 15 days to 20 days on soft food and only those foods that can be chewed without pain. In case if they are willing to eat hard food, then such as salads or something, we need to ask them to cut food into smaller pieces and avoid food that required wide opening of mouth. Most of these patients, they resort to use of chewing gum, which should be strictly avoided whenever the jaw is showing symptoms of temporomandibular joint disorder. Another thing which we need to tell the patient is not to test the jaw. Usually such patients, they have a tendency to keep on opening and closing and analyze themselves whether their pain is relieved or not. So we should tell them not to test the jaw. And there are certain postures which need to be informed to the patient and to be avoided. These are not to lean or cup the chin. Do not sleep on stomach or in postures that place stresses on the jaw. Avoid elective dental treatment while symptoms of pain and limited opening are present. Other advice which we can give to patient, these are called as helping practices. During yawning, they need to support the jaw by providing a mild pressure underneath the chin. You can ask the patient to use the thumb or index finger, and whenever they are yawning, to limit the mouth opening, he can just place the tip of the finger beneath his chin. When the finger and the chin come in contact, the jaw opening is reduced during that time. Apply moist hot compressors to the sides of the face, to the temple areas at least for 10 to 20 minutes twice daily. Whenever we give this modality of treatment to the patient, the heat which is there, it causes vasodilatation in the muscles. Vasodilatation increases the blood flow and all the inflammatory mediators which are being generated in your muscle, which are causing the pain, which are responsible for the muscle spasm, they are cleared because of increased vascularity. So this particular modality helps the patient immensely, and relieves the patient of the pain. The third modality in the treatment line is physiotherapy. Physiotherapy can be both passive and active. Passive means without any mouth opening or closing. They are given, this treatment is given during the rest time, and active treatment involves certain jaw exercises which are controlled movements of the jaw that help in reduction of the pain. So posture therapy is there over here. We need to teach the patient and do a physiotherapy such that they avoid forward head positions. Other passive modalities include ultrasound, laser, transcutaneous electric nerve stimulation, etc. Now, ultrasound we use for diagnostic purpose quite often, but ultrasound with different frequencies, they have an added advantage. Ultrasounds are a type of energy and they deposit this energy deeper into the tissue. These ultrasound equipments are present with physiotherapy centers only. Lasers, low level laser therapy can also be given. They are also associated with good results when they are used judiciously. And transcutaneous electric nerve stimulation has been a very promising modality for the treatment of temporomandibular joint disorders. They are also used for chronic backaches by many of the patients. Now, TENS, it uses a low voltage biphasic current of varied frequency and it is designed for sensory counter stimulation for the control of pain. It has been seen that low level biphasic current, which is used in TENS, they are associated with release of endorphins. Endorphins are something analogous to morphins, which act on lambda and mu and kappa receptors. And these receptors are especially present in your central nervous system. So endorphin is something morphine-like substances which are present, which are produced within your body. So that's why they are called as endorphins. So use of TENS, one way by which it treats these type of patient is releasing endorphins, and they help the patient to overcome the pain by increasing the brain threshold. The other aspect of using a biphasic current is the response to tense which the muscles of mastication. Um, um, this causes a relaxation in the muscles of mastication over there. We have discussed already ultrasounds using high frequency oscillations which produce deep heat within the muscle, and we know the effects of heat in the muscle which causes vasodilatation and clearance of the inflammatory exudate. Exercises, these are active modalities. They increase the range of motion in the comfort zone. Passive stretching to increase the mandibular motion. They all aid in controlled jaw movement and guide the muscle, uh, both of the right and left side, the muscles of mastication, and thus they relieve the temporomandibular joint. The fourth modality which we need to opt is intraoral appliances. These appliances basically are splints, orthotics, orthopedic appliances, bite guards, night guards, and bruxism guards. Splints are basically they are made up of polymethyl methacrylate, the cold cure which we use in prosthodontic department, and uh, these splints are designed in a specific manner to maintain the distance between the maxillary and the mandibular teeth. Splints are overall in general they are hard, and in cases where you suspect that the patient is having habit of bruxism, that is grinding of the teeth, we use soft guards over there. The one which is used, transparent one, which are very soft. These are also designed in a specific way, and we need to predetermine whether what amount of gap you need to keep, like how many millimeters of gap you need to keep between maxillary and the mandibular teeth. Orthotics and orthopedic appliances are devices which position the jaw. They are more from orthodontic point of view, but these appliances they take the jaw to a different position, uh, which have also seen a good benefit among these patients. Pharmacotherapy, this is also a prime area of treatment for temporomandibular joint disorders. We basically treat by non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. We use opioids over here, anti-anxiety agents, tricyclic antidepressants, and muscle relaxant. Now, specifically pertaining to pharmacotherapy, we try to see to it that we give low dose therapy among these patients, and some of your patient might need an extended course of pharmacotherapy in the management of temporomandibular joint disorders. I shall be uploading a short video wherein I will be discussing various drugs, only all these drugs in a separate video. I will be giving the different drugs, their dosages, and how and why and where they act, and are beneficial to patients of temporomandibular joint disorders. So just wait, probably 1 or 2 days later, I shall be uploading the pharmacotherapy. Then you will have the insight into what all drugs we use in the treatment of temporomandibular disorders. Trigger point therapy is a very well-known therapy, and quite often you must have seen that and this therapy is immediately done uh, among sports persons. Like if they have a muscle cramp or something like that, you find the therapist, they run to the field, they spray something, and then they do a couple of physiotherapy exercises over there, some manipulations over there. Now in this, the first thing is cooling of skin over the involved muscle and stretching. For this we use a spray. If you have used a spray to relieve back pain, you must have noticed that the moment you spray the medication, the first thing is it cools the surfaces of the skin. Now cooling has been associated with bringing certain amount of numbness uh, of the skin and the underlying muscle. So first is cooling of the skin, and once your muscles they have become little numb, when the pain is reduced, then they do passive stretching of these muscles. Other trigger point therapy includes direct injection of local anesthetic into the muscle. You can also use saline injections or sterile water or dry needles without any water or saline. Now, what is trigger point? We have seen trigger zones while we were discussing trigeminal neuralgia. Trigger zones are different and trigger points are different. Trigger points are certain areas or points which are present over the muscle. And to identify a trigger point, in general, when you are palpating an affected muscle, there will be certain areas where upon your gentle palpation, the patient is having the highest amount of pain. Those points are first identified, and these points, over these points we will do all these treatment modalities. We will try all these things. You can just use just sterile saline injection you can introduce in those points. You can use sterile water or even dry needles can be utilized over here to do trigger point therapy. Other temporomandibular joint disorder treatments include acupuncture, acupressure, naturopathy, and homeopathic remedies. We don't have much extensive literature in these fields, so these are just the additional modalities which can be tried. Uh, and you need to refer to respective centers uh, with a proper prescription, and then only they will start the treatment with the three modalities which we are discussing in this slide. So these are the various treatment modalities which are used overall in treatment of temporomandibular joint disorder. You need to go through the textbook. These slides are just a guide for you, and you need to go through the textbook. You need to prepare your own notes. Um, um, the next module which I will be dealing will be the other temporomandibular joint disorders like anterior disc displacement with reduction, posterior disc displacement, ankylosis, and certain other small temporomandibular joint disorders uh, which can be asked in your university examination. Thank you.